Right. Hi, my friends. I am so glad you're here with me today because today I have Sarah Sims on with me, and she is a woman who is on a wellness mission. And if you're in my world, you know that's a mission that's very close to my heart. And I think sharing stories and our journeys help with that mission tremendously. So, welcome, Sarah. I'm so grateful that you're here on my podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you, Amanda.
Yeah. So I think that I would love to hear, and I'm sure the people who listen would love to hear the journey that got you to the book that you read, that you wrote called Stress Less Method, because I think that is such a great name. And I read parts of the book and it's really great. So what brought you to that point in your life?
Yeah, so stress less comes from a very long journey. I've been through young motherhood. I got married young. I had three children by the time I was in my mid 20s. Went to put myself through college. And then ultimately, my body kept the score of everything I was trying to get done in the midst of my circumstances. And ultimately, I was diagnosed with an incurable autoimmune condition. And so I'll take a step back and just really talk about that was the turning point for me, the diagnosis of my condition. I was so hyper focused on being a great mom and growing in my career and really utilizing and leveraging all that education I paid for. And I was in a massive amounts of debt.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to just shine and do my best and just be really purpose driven. But there was a period in my life where I actually got sick twice. So I got diagnosed with heart disease at the age of 29, and it was idiopathic, random. No one ever really, or no doctor ever really diagnosed where it came from. But it was a condition where the fluid fills the sac. There's a sac around your heart. It's called pericarditis. And so when that sac, always has a little fluid, but mine's had a significant amount. It changed how I breathed. It changed my heart rate. And I was hospitalized on and off for over 2 months and talking cardiac ICU. So I was in pretty bad shape. And after I kind of recovered from that condition, I went on a journey to lose weight because I was overweight, probably obese by depending on what scale you read. And I decided to just lose weight the natural way after watching, I don't know if you remember these, the NutriBullets, when the NutriBullets first came out. And I said, okay, I'm just going to make green smoothies and drink that twice a day. And I'll eat dinner, but I'll work out 5 days a week. And in 11 months, I had lost 50 pounds. So it was like my first experience with understanding how when you take care of yourself, and you just do the right things, the weight comes off. The weight loss can't be the focus. It should just be the habits and the practices that you have. And I had learned, well, wow, if I just work out and I eat right, what else can I do to improve my health? So, I started doing little small things like journaling and like, just taking certain products out of my home and, just trying to take a more holistic approach to self-care. But one thing I wasn't doing was managing my stress. And I worked long hours. I wanted all the projects I could take on. I wanted to be the mom that had all the birthday parties at her house for my three daughters. And it ultimately caught up to me. And one day in 2015, the day after Thanksgiving, I woke up and part of the vision in my left eye was gone.
Mhm.
And a normal person, Amanda, would have immediately gone to the doctor, and I go off to travel for work because I thought, oh, maybe it's just a headache. Maybe, like something's going on and it'll recover. My eye vision has been blurry, but it was like, no, like it was dark and I could not see. And I went to the doctor where I was traveling to, and he said, this is pretty serious. You want to go to see a neurologist. And so a neurologist had monitored me for about 2 years with brain scans every 6 months. And I was going to a follow-up appointment and I thought, wow, it's just one more appointment. I'm just showing up. The problem hasn't come back, so it must be gone. And the doctor decides to give me my diagnosis and hadn't done it for 2 years. So I thought I had escaped whatever problem had surfaced. And Here I am about to close out a multi-million dollar project, and my doctor is telling me that I have an incurable condition. And I said, I've gone through journeys in my well-being, my wellness journey, where I know that there's more than medication that can fix a problem. What else can I do to take care of myself? And he said, manage your stress.
Mm.
And it was the one thing I didn't know how to do. And so ultimately, that led me to really adopting a lifestyle over the years, since I got that diagnosis, that has helped me master stress by nurturing my self care.
Oh, I love that. I find that it can be like we're so prone to, taking care of other people and our jobs and our families, and like we can have it all under control, even our diet and what we eat and what we put into our body. But it's that stress that really is one of the key factors of how everything else in your life is actually working. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And
So
actually, how you manage everything else in your life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that come to mind is as you are on this, wellness mission and having less stress in your life, has you found like how has that affected your home life, your life with your kids? Because
Yeah.
I know what it's like to want to have all the really good birthday parties and have all the memories, but yet they weren't really great memories because I was really stressed out during that part of time in my life. So what is it
Yeah.
for you?
So that looked like a few things. Obviously, how you spend your time is one of them, right? And so I'll take a step back. Your beliefs about how you need to spend your time was one of them. And so in the book, when you go through the stress less method, I'm taking you on a 4-step process of how you master self care. And oftentimes, we don't prioritize stress management or whatever it is that we need to be healthy, is because we feel like our time is better spent somewhere else. We feel like someone needs us. We feel like we're the only ones that can fix it. And so I kept showing up in my family's life beyond just my immediate family, my children. I was showing up in the lives of others to be a savior, to fix things. And so I had to do the work to think about where those beliefs were coming from. They can cope with life without me just fine. I don't need to go to the amusement park if I'm not an amusement park person. I don't need to go to the movies and eat popcorn that's really unhealthy for me if I know it triggers some condition or I just don't like it, right? Sometimes you don't need a why. It's just, it doesn't vibe with you. And I had to start recognizing the beliefs that all of my decisions were rooted in. And oftentimes they were more limiting beliefs than disillusional beliefs, right? Like, that's what a mom's supposed to do. That's what a wife's supposed to do. That's what a daughter's supposed to do. But I never really thought about me as an individual. What do I need to do? And that was coming from a lot of places. My story, everyone's story is different. My story was very much young motherhood. My child was a priority before I was a priority for myself. So it took me unlearning to deprioritize myself. It
Yeah.
took me understanding that your children aren't 2 and 3 and 4 anymore, and the way you show up for their lives looks different in this season. My daughters, my youngest and my oldest are 9 years apart. So I jokingly laugh that I was in elementary school for 15 years.
Yeah.
All the back to school nights. So I was just the mom, and I didn't have a chance to turn that off.
Yeah.
But by the time I had gotten diagnosed, I could turn that off. My children didn't need me to show up the same way. Work was another big one. I was a leader. I was a director. I wanted to be able to like make sure I showed up for the team. You have everything you need. You're growing the way you want to. But hey, leadership is shared.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Leadership is shared. It's not with a defined title or a defined role. It's in a team. What I needed to do was make sure things got done and remove barriers. And so it was all these beliefs that I had to first start working on to redefine.
Yeah. And that's your first stage, I believe, right? That you mentioned in your book is believing and
Believing.
and then becoming, expanding, and exchanging. Can you go off those for a little bit? Because I love this thought process.
You bet.
Mhm.
So once you change your beliefs, and at least if you don't even want to change it, but you know what they're rooted in,
Mm,
then you're going to be able to define what your values are. And that's kind of in that believing stage. So I want to make sure that we also explore the values piece of believing, because that's who you are and that's where your belief should derive from. Then when you get into becoming, becoming is forming the habits that help you nurture the seven focus areas of your self-care, right? And so those seven focus areas are nutrition, they're digital, they're emotional, social, physical, spiritual, occupational. And I'm taking the majority of these from the seven dimensions of wellness from the National Wellness Institute. And then I add digital because we are an evolving modern people and technology is literally dictating so much of our lives now. So we just got to be mindful of how we show up with our use of technology. And so you're creating these habits that are helping you nurture these seven areas of self care. Habits for habit formation. Oftentimes, I think we believe we're doing something because we're addicted, but science and research is showing that the reason why we do a lot of things is because we just have neural pathways of habitually doing things for so long. So now it's time to crack that code or develop new pathways to help establish new healthy habits. And so we do that in a variety of, I recommend, people do this in a variety of ways. I love James Clear book, Atomic Habits. It's the little tiny things we do different every single day that help us really achieve mastery. It's not a whole overhaul. It's not a crazy detox, even though I do enjoy a good detox every once in a while, but it's just the small things that we can do. So applying a lot of James Clear's methods from Atomic Habits, I encourage everyone who's going through any or wants to undergo any transformation, check out that book. It's a really great one.
right behind me.
Good, good, good. See, I like that, Amanda. Um, so just being able to show up when with your change from habits, not from I want to change, I wish to change, but you're really ready to take action on your change.
Yeah, action is definitely key for that.
Yeah.
And I like that you say the small steps too, because he talks a lot about that in his book, and I try to tell that to other people that I work with too, is, taking huge steps can be so overwhelming and we often just put it off. Take a small step every single day and you'll eventually get to the same point in your journey that you would anyways. So I love that
Yep.
you say that. Yeah. Um,
So the next
yeah.
stage is expanding. And so expanding is when, it's almost like you're a caterpillar and you go and you're developing, you change your beliefs and you're changing your habits, you're forming this chrysalis. And you're in this chrysalis and you're doing all these things. And I think oftentimes all of us know what that looks like when we went off to school, if we changed our diet, if we're in a new relationship, we kind of keep things private when we're working on it and it's brand new. It's exciting. We're starting to see results. But then when we come out and we're blossoming, others are noticing what that looks like for the first time. And so they might be used to how you showed up prior to your transformation. So this is the stage where you want to start setting boundaries and asking for what you need.
Mm,
Oftentimes when uh we've heard, at least I have, that you should work hard for what you want, don't ask for help, figure it out on your own, then it's yours to claim. Well, that's true, but you can only get so far when you do things on your own. So the one big thing I had to learn how to master, Amanda, when I got diagnosed with this condition is I had to learn how to ask for help. I didn't know
mm,
how to do that. I didn't know how to just say, "Hey," my children, asking them to show up and be able to support the home in a consistent way. Or, asking my boss, "Hey, I think I need a flexible schedule because the one I have to drive 2 to 3 hours a day, and that's just not working for my health at this time." But I had again those beliefs around you shouldn't have to ask for help. But when you're going through transformations and you're shedding the way things once were, sometimes people want to show up in your life in a positive way and have a positive influence. So I've learned that asking for help from those who you trust can give it to you goes a long way. Next one is boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries. So um Boundaries looks like a few things. It could be the community you keep, right?
Mhm.
And you are oftentimes forced into your communities for personal life, like your family, right? You didn't pick your family
Right.
and you don't pick your colleagues, but you do get to pick who you spend your time around, right? And so spending your time around people who are really there to support you and elevate you and keep the energy that you need to keep moving forward with your stress management, your self-care habits. The next one is just saying, I think we all have heard this, what you won't do and what you will do, and just being comfortable with establishing those boundaries so that you're achieving your priorities first. So, a way to be able to do that daily is a practice that I have called Start With Me. Most of us, I know you're a teacher, Amanda, so it might be a little different for you, but it might not. At the start of the day, you probably have a lot of students, a lot of, colleagues, administrators, they're all around you. But you really want to start your day with what's important for Amanda to get accomplished, right?
Yeah.
So, how I recommend a start with me with rather than waking or what's it waking up, walking into work and turn on your computer and jump into the email, I ask that you might want to just take a pause for 5 to 10 minutes and write down what's a top priority for you in that day.
I
These
love
are these are boundaries. And you didn't have to tell anyone back off, back up, but you created the boundaries to make sure that what is how you're creating priorities is starting with you and starting with what you need to get accomplished, not what people are asking for of you.
Yeah, I love that. And it's what a great way to like start your day and organize your mind and really put those priority lists in place before you go out and do whatever you have to do with other people. I love that. Nice.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And the last one is exchanging.
Last one is exchanging. Okay, so now you are in the most richest version of yourself because you have healthy beliefs. You have established habits that are maintaining a very strong version of yourself. You're nurturing all seven of those focus areas. You don't have to have mastery, but none of them get overlooked. And you've created healthy boundaries, you're asking for help, and you really know who's on your team. You've got your squad. Now you're in exchange and you're the best version of yourself. And this is where you're able to show up with your God-given purposes. I like to tell people. You know exactly how you want to show up at work, in your family, in your personal life. And now people get to see your true gift. Oftentimes, we say our gifts are the things that have been required of us,
Hmm.
right? I'm
Yeah,
really great at my job. I'm
yeah,
really great at being a mom. I'm really great at, I don't know, birthday parties because those are important to me.
right.
Now I'm not great at birthday parties anymore. But what I found going through my own journey is that I was really great at well being, creating wellness and health in any environment that I was in. That was my gift to give to people. So now I can exchange my gift. And because I grow such an abundance of it, when I give it to others, I've never felt depleted.
Oh, I love that because that is taking your purpose off like a specific role and diving a little deeper. And I know for myself, I feel like that. Like I am a teacher, but I'm also like a teacher because I love to give information to other people. I love to share information with other people. And it doesn't have to be a high school teacher. It's just in
Nope.
general what fills my soul. So I love
Mm,
that part of it. Yeah. And I
yeah.
also love the idea of like not feeling like you have to master something because that often is what can get us bogged down and not take us to that truest potential. Is like, well, I haven't mastered it yet. I'm not perfect at it yet. So I
Right. Right.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The only mastery we really need to have the stressless method is self care.
It's out there. Yeah. Yeah.
These are the four stages of self-care mastery. That's where you want to master first. Because if you've taken care of yourself, everyone gets the best version of you,
Mm,
and you're going to show up the way you're meant to. And your
yeah.
gift is your mastery,
Yeah.
indeed.
Oh, I love that. That's so resonates with what I say. I love it. Now, all of this, I would have to say, sounds amazing, right up my alley, and is also a little easier said than done, which is why I know personally I've always had to have a coach, like someone to help me get to that next place. And that's what you are for so many people, even inside the workspace, right? So can you tell me about
Yes.
your coaching? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I love coaching executives and leaders because if you reach a leader, you
Mhm.
reach hundreds, if not thousands,
Yeah.
because of the seats that they sit in. Well-being, corporate well-being, biggest fail is that they try to start at the tactical individual level rather than at the most influential level, which is with the leaders.
Mm.
So my goal in executive coaching for like healthy leadership is more so to create practices at a policy making, team leading, project leading roles and positions so that they know first how to take care of themselves, and
Mhm.
anyone who's great at taking care of themselves will insist upon others doing the same, right? Because you know the jewel and the joy that comes from it.
Yeah.
So we're working on things like Start With Me. We're not being driven by technology. We're talking about how to lead healthy distributed teams because we have teams that are all over the country, all over the world, as a matter of fact. So we need to be able to create norms and how we're leading our teams and what those healthy practices look like at a team level. And then we're also exploring what their genius is. And so I use a tool called the Six Types of Working Genius. I give this assessment to all of my clients, and we unpack what their specific genius is that they contribute to work. And the Six Types of Working Genius, it takes you through the basically the stages of work from ideation, creation to implementation/execution. And so there's six types of geniuses in between there. And by the leader knowing what their genius is, they also know what their geniuses aren't.
Mm.
And so making sure that we're leaning into and recognizing where you shine, where you don't, and essentially where your team might have some gaps. And then we also can do this at the team level, which is where it's the most impactful, where a leader gets to know what their team's geniuses are and how they're all influencing one another and how we can cohesively design it so that it makes work seamless through all six stages.
I really love that thought because I feel like in the workplace, if you know what your zone of genius is and you get to work on it and that's what you get to do, like the company, the whatever you're working for is just going to thrive so much more. And I can see that education that you're giving them and that coaching that you're giving to them filtering down even to their family levels or their home levels. So like when I think about my family, thinking of zone of geniuses, like my husband's really great at some things and really not great at others. And I am really great at those things, luckily, that he's not great at. So
Right.
finding that zone of genius, even in your lives, maybe even in your friendships, I think sometimes we often put jobs on people that they aren't really great at, and that's not fair to them or
Mm,
for us. So I love
it
that thought
does.
process. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And when you operate from your genius, Amanda, it's also brings you back to the exchanging
Yeah.
stage of stress less. You
Mm.
can do it with abundance.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can you can execute where your genius is without force,
Mhm.
without being convinced, and you're actually likely able to hang in there and distribute it in such significant amounts, and people you give it to people with joy. Give
Yeah.
it to them with joy. So they're actually now receiving happiness, and we're like transferring this energy that if you just told me you needed me to do something and I just delivered it to you, you're receiving it in that energy now. Your
Mm.
product is coming from that energy. You're also burned out. You're not really happy about it. And so we're able to manage turnover. We're able to manage conflict and friction in teams, families. I know my family, we all know our geniuses, my husband, my team who works on my business, we all know our geniuses. And so when we have shared language now about how this genius influences our decision making, our conversations, and our work.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to that, you can then not be depleted. So you aren't depleted at work, you aren't depleted at home because you're actually using things that light you up, not dim your light. So that's
There you
amazing.
go.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. Awesome. So you have a book, Stress Less Method, that talks about all of this, right?
Yes. So stress less. How to use self care to redefine your well being.
Yeah, great. You also have a company that sells body butters and soy candles called Autumn and Joy. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I love both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so Autumn and Joy actually was born from me trying to take better care of myself. So when I was diagnosed, I did a lot of research on the brain, right? Because my issue is stemming from my vision center in my brain. So I did a lot of research on figuring out what are some of the kind of common toxins that affect brain health or ultimately brain health. And one of them was like plastics, parabens, phthalates. So I discovered that a lot of the products I was using had that in them. And one of them was candles, and another was my skincare products. So I eliminated all scented items from my home. Scented detergents, everything was eliminated. I was a perfume fragrance free home, and that's a good thing. I will never say that it's not. But I missed like smelling seasonal fragrances in my home. I miss smelling like a woman. There was all these parts of me that was identified in like my olfactory senses, right? And so that was absent and I missed it. So I went from just using plain olive oil and grapeseed oil in my skin to experimenting with adding butters and then finding natural fragrance oils that are paraben free, phthalate free, removal of all toxins. And I started experimenting with that. And I was just using it on myself and on my family. And my mom, she was not doing well for a little brief period. And so she came to stay with us to get a little better. She was in her room, and I said, "Hey, mom," I brought her a little small 2 ounce jar. I said, "I've been making these butters, and I'd love to know what you think. Give it a try." Well, a few days later, come to her room, I'm like, "Hey, mom, how's that body butter?" It's maybe like a week later. I was like, "How's that body butter? What did you think about it?" The jar was empty. She had scraped the sides of it. And she's like, "I need more of this." And so my mom has skin sensitive skin. I have these like this heightened now sensitivity to fragrances. Nigga, I might be onto something. And so, like so many others during COVID, the things that were important to us, we just had a little bit more time to do. So at the end of my workday, I would go down to my basement, it was a little studio. I just had a little table down there, but we had the space to convert. Now it looks like a full-blown boutique, a shop with shelves everywhere and counters and lights. And it's been a great journey to go from something that I created to take better care of myself that I'm now able to extend to the marketplace.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I know those are very important in our household too, and it's hard finding trustworthy companies. So that's amazing that you have
Yeah.
that out there for everybody.
Yeah, I have been able to make 90 or so. I think we're on 90 different fragrances of
Oh,
candles. Hand pour soy candles are all custom fragrances because I make the things that I enjoy.
mhm.
And the body butters, we have about 17 different fragrances, but it's all the same composition. It's only whole ingredients that we use.
That's amazing. Well, I have to say, as someone who also has an autoimmune disease, I have Crohn's disease, and I found that stress was the key factor in it, like we usually find out, right?
Yeah.
So that you have gone through this journey and shared this journey and your story and your book, and now you're coaching with all these companies and women. I just want to say thank you. We need more of this out there, so I really appreciate that.
Thank
Um, I would love to know, how do you nurture yourself? That's what I ask everybody. And thank you for saying that word so many times because it's so dear in my heart. But how
you.
do you nurture yourself on a daily basis? What's a small thing you could share?
Oh, a small thing.
Mm,
So I'm very grounded in my faith, Amanda.
mm,
My faith is so big to me. Um, Maybe since over the past month, I have been reading my Bible daily
mm.
with the goal to read it from cover to cover in a year. And
Nice.
so that's about 2 or 3 pages a day. And I pray
Mm,
and I leave space to read my Bible. And sometimes I read far more than the chapters to get me to my goal. but I'm so thankful for the peace that it brings me as I go through the rest of the day. Yeah, so I would say that is the one small thing that I do that like has such a profound impact on my energy and how I show up for the rest of the world.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Having faith is so important. I think whether it's faith in your God or faith in the universe or faith in Mother Nature, having faith is important. I know for myself, every morning I have started, actually in the last month or two as well, taking that time in the morning to read about 10 pages of a nonfiction book, and like whether
Mm,
it's self-development or some of the books that you were talking about, like reading every morning to get my brain started and stimulated and going.
yes.
So I appreciate taking that time every day to do something that's important to you. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I love the reading. It just has so many benefits that we've
yeah,
lost with the development of technology.
yeah.
It helps build attention and focus and resilience in so many ways. I was glad you shared your reading practice as well.
Well, I see behind you, for those of you who aren't watching right now and just listening, she has a bookshelf behind her filled, and like that's my jam. I'm an English teacher, so I'm like, oh,
Oh,
I love reading. I can't get enough, but I often find I put it off for some reason. Like life gets busy or whatever. So taking that time in the morning for you to read that Bible, or for me to read in general, really
mhm.
that helps your mind in so many ways and your soul in so many ways. Yeah.
So many. So tell me, what are you reading now?
I will tell you, I just got done reading a book by Alexis Carpenter called Change Your Reflection. It's an amazing book. It's a bio of her life and what she went through, but it was really amazing. So I recommend that one.
Ah, all right. I'm going to make sure I note that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm reading The Anxious Generation by John Haidt. Have you
Oh,
read
that's
that
on my
one?
list. That's on my
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's on my list, especially because in school I work with a lot of 504 kids, which means I have a lot of
Mhm.
kids on my caseload that have anxiety. So that one is definitely on my list to read. That sounds
It's a
interesting.
really good one. It's really good. I think you'll enjoy it as a teacher. It has a lot of research in it.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share or bring up as we bring this to a close?
I really appreciate the space that you've created to talk about how to nurture ourselves, how to prioritize self-care, and as you know from all of your guests, there are a variety of ways to do it.
Mm.
Stress less method is just one, but I think that we're all preaching the same message that if you start with yourself, you're really able to be the best version of yourself for others. And so I just want to leave everyone with that if your goal is to be awesome and amazing in life, you got to be awesome and amazing to yourself first.
Oh my God, I couldn't put that any better. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Okay.
And thank you so much for sharing your journey and for sharing everything that you did today. I really appreciate that. And thank you everybody for coming here and listening or watching. I always say choose yourself, and I love you, and we will get together next week. So thank you. If I can find my stop recording, it will. They hide it under more now. So, okay.